Hey everyone, and welcome to the November community stand-up for the Azure Static Web Apps. Today we have an exciting agenda. We'll be talking about building AI applications with Azure Static Web Apps. With me, I have Yohan Lasorsa, who's a cloud advocate over on JavaScript, and he's going to share with us a little something that they've been working on together using OpenAI and JavaScript and static web apps in order to build sort of a chat retrieval augmented generation application. So I'm really excited to dive into that. Yohan's joining us virtually, so I'll tap it over to him when it comes to time. He has something pre-recorded for us. Also, we'll be featuring a couple of our community highlights as well as events and recent announcements that we've had. Just before, I'm going to do a quick mic check. I just want to make sure that my mic's working. Yeah, everything that seems good. Excellent. Okay. Feel free to leave any comments you have in the chat. I'll be taking a look and making sure that I answer all of them. So without further ado, let's dive into what I have planned for today for the community stand-up. Okay, I want to start off with community contributions. Always great to see those. I love the community contributions. I'm looking for them on Twitter. I'm looking for them on Google and YouTube. So I want to highlight a couple. Noteworthy, I want to highlight the recent Azure Static Web Apps announcement. As you know, over November, there was a Microsoft Ignite, at which there was the announcement of .NET 8 at .NET 8 Conf. And as you can imagine, we support .NET 8. You can build and deploy Blazor.NET 8 applications on static web apps, as well as .NET 8 functions APIs when you're deploying to your same Azure Static Web Apps resource. So that announcement came out probably a couple of weeks ago. And in terms of community highlights, I want to highlight Purnima, who was at Copenhagen DevFest, talking about static web apps and the ability to bring either a managed function API or any other types of APIs and how that integrates with authentication. So that's really worth a watch. And then there was a blog on Kita. I would probably mispronounce, but it's in Japanese. It's really interesting about deploying Nuxt 3 to Azure Static Web Apps. Mark Kenneth Lomio and Melrose Mahidana did my best with the pronunciation, but they also talked about deploying HTML to Azure Static Web Apps. So make sure to check that out if it's interesting. And finally, John talked about replatforming or migrating his blog from Gatsby to Astro and then hosting that on Azure Static Web Apps. So recommend going to check out that blog as well. If you want to access these links, at this link, I have a URL list where you can access each of the individual links if you want to go and check them out and read more about them. Okay, excellent. So those are the community contributions that we had for November. I now want to bring over Yohan, and Johan's going to talk to us about a very interesting topic, which is building AI applications. Now, as you know, there's been a lot of hype around OpenAI, but there's a lot of really interesting use cases for building AI applications. And one of the best use cases is retrieval augmented generation. And I won't spoil anything. I'll let Yohan talk to us about it. And I will actually bring him in just now. Let me bring over Yohan.
My name is Yohan Lasorsa, and I'm a cloud developer advocate in the JavaScript team working here at Microsoft. And for the past few months, with other folks from my team, we've been busy building this new sample that demonstrates how to use Azure OpenAI with GPT models to build your own enterprise ChatGPT experience based on your own data. So first, let me show you a quick demo of what we've built. So we took the scenario of the Contenso real estate company that wants to build a support chatbot to help their customers with questions about the rentals. So as you can see, you can ask basically any question you want. Let's say, for example, you want to know about how to book rentals. So this works just like your regular chat experience. You ask a question and then you get the answer from the AI. So the answer is coming up. And you can see that there are this little citation that says that these particular answers come from this support guide document. So these samples implements the retrieval augmented generation technique, or RAG for short. So why is it a big deal? It allows the AI model to answer a question based on factual and trusted data that you provide. For example, this Contoso Real Estate Customer Support Guide. Instead of just using data that comes from the pre-training of the model, that sometimes lead to hallucination, when that means that sometimes the model invent facts that don't exist. And that's not something you want when you want to give precise answer to questions. So let me just explain a bit more what's a RAG. So retrieval augmented generation. Basically, it works like that. At the beginning, you have a user query, your question. You take this question and you send it to an embedding model. This model will transform your text question into vector data. Then you can use this vector data. We use that to perform a search in our vector database that contains the information we stored from our documents. So how this vector database and vector information is any different than your regular text search from any database that you're already using? So the main difference is that when you're doing a regular text search, you basically use the semantic information, the words, just to match any similar words from text that you already have in your database. But that's not really precise to capture the intent, the meaning of the question. But that's what the vector information can do. Basically, using vector information, what you get at the end is more precise search, more efficient to get the results you want, capturing the meaning of the initial question, even if it's using different words, even if it's using different language, even. So at the end, once you get your results, you pick up, like for example, in our case, we pick by default the top 3 documents. You extract the text from the document that match best what the question was initially. And then you use that information to create the final prompt that you will send to the AI model. So in this prompt, of course, you will include the initial user question. And we explicitly tell the model to use these documents that we provide and we put directly in the prompt to answer the question. And we even tell it explicitly that if the model isn't able to answer that question using this information, just say that you don't know, because that's the best answer you can do in that case. Okay, so we've explained retrieval augmented generation. So now let me tell you a bit more about the sample itself. So to build this particular application, we use several components. The first one, for the front-end part, we built a web app containing the chat part, as you can see, to deliver the answers to the user's question. So this application is built from 2 separate components. First, we created a chat component. So that's a web component we've built with TypeScript and Lit that can be integrated in any web app, whatever the framework you're already using. And to demonstrate that, we integrated that chat component into a React web application. So that's what I've shown you just before. This frontend is then deployed to Azure Static Web Apps as the host. And then we have 2 different backend services. So we built these backend services using Node.js, TypeScript, and Fastify for the API frameworks. And of course, we use the Azure SDK to interact with the Azure service. So first, we have the search Node.js service. So what we call search is basically just exposing the chat API to communicate with our frontend to be able to deliver the answers to the questions. Then we also have a document ingestion service. So this particular service is what takes your documents coming from Markdown or PDF files and put them into your vector database. So in our case, we use Azure AI Search as our vector database. We also upload this document into Azure Blob Storage, so we can later reference them, just as I've shown you in the demo before. So we can basically just, if the customer, your user, want to see like the original document that was used to generate the answer, you can put a link to them. And of course, to generate the answer using AI, we used Azure OpenAI service. The two different backends are also packaged as Docker containers, and we deploy them using Azure Container Apps. And actually, let me show you just how easy it is to deploy this sample. So we used the Azure Dev CLI tooling to be able to give you the best and the easiest way to deploy that. So first, I need to log in into Azure using azd-auth login command. So let me just quickly log into my Azure account. Okay, I should be good. And then once you're logged in, just type azd-up, and it will do all the heavy stuff for you. So what it will do is package all the application. It will provision all the Azure services that you need. And to do that, it will use, if we take a look at this infra folder here, you can see that we're using bicep files. So bicep is a domain-specific language that allows you to create infrastructure as code. So you basically declare all your Azure resources as code. So using that, the azd CLI will provision all the infrastructure and then also deploy the different services, the backend services and the front-end application, and you get the result I've just shown you in the demo. So you have this ready-to-use sample that you can customize. For example, you can change the data that's in this folder to use your own data, of course. That's probably what you want to do. But if you want to know more about how we built this whole application from the beginning, we also created a workshop. You can access this workshop at this URL, aka.ms/ws/openai-rag, and you will end up here. So in this workshop, basically we started from the whole beginning and we explained all the different steps we went through to create this sample from the start. We explained everything about the vector database, how you ingest data into that database, how we created the chat API using Fastify, going through all the steps and using the long chain framework to communicate with the AI model, how we created like the Docker file to package the application, how we created the website using the web components, up to the deployment to Azure. So basically, you can learn everything you need to know about this sample just in details. So that's about it. So I hope you'll find this useful, and if you have any question, don't hesitate, feel free to reach out in the GitHub of the project, in the issue sections, or you can start your own discussion if you want to discuss things aside features or bug. And of course, if you like this project, give us a star in here, and also stay tuned because we'll continue to add more content to this sample and to the workshop. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Yohan. Thanks for recording this ahead of time, and actually thank you and the whole cloud advocacy team working on these samples. I think this workshop really looks interesting, building OpenAI applications with static web apps, but also other services and blob storage and container apps, as well as open sourcing that repository. I think it's a great resource for anybody wanting to replicate retrieval augmented generation applications. So thanks a lot. Excellent. And so that was the demo that we had planned for you today. I want to move on to a couple of helpful resources. If you do want to get started with static web apps today and you want to build AI applications, I highly recommend checking out the open source repository that Yohan and the advocacy team open sourced. It's under Azure Samples, specifically Azure Search, OpenAI JavaScript. Feel free to check that out. I think it's a great resource. And also, if you want to get started with .NET 8 applications, building Blazor.NET 8, .NET 8 functions, and static web apps, go ahead and check out our announcement for .NET 8. We'll probably have more blogs, sneak peek coming later next week. As always, we're always looking for feedback about the Static Web App service. We do these community stand-ups. That's why we do these, in order to get feedback and interact with you all. And outside of these community stand-ups, we're active on Twitter and we're active on our GitHub repository. So we have a community GitHub. I'm going to show you that right now. We have a community GitHub where we are going through all the issues, all of the discussions. We're looking to get feedback. We're always looking to improve, whether it's a comment that you may have, an issue that you're facing, or some suggestions. We're actively looking through here, probably weekly, daily. So we'd love to see you there, or tag us on Twitter as well. And on that note, that's all we had planned for you today. This is probably going to be the last community stand-up of 2023 before the holidays. And so with that, we'll see you in the new year. Have a nice day, everyone.